take a quick look at the 1996 TV movie The Beast. This was a movie which was somewhat based on the novel of the same title, which was written by Peter Benchley. He is of course known for Jaws, and of course he pretty much just writes novels about sea creatures, sea adventures, things like that. Obviously numerous films have been based off of Mr. Benchley's works. This film originally aired on NBC, and it was treated as a two-part miniseries. So once again, this is also somewhat of a basic plot type film. We've got just kind of like a little coastal town which relies on their fishing industry, and unfortunately I guess they've just, you know, really overfished the area, and unbeknownst to them there was a prehistoric giant octopus which had been living in the area. So since they are now out of food sources, this creature has pretty much moved on to eating whatever else is left, which now includes human victims. So it's definitely has the look of a TV film. It's low budget, but you know, it can be quite enjoyable if you go into it not expecting too much, especially if you're a fan of Peter Benchley. Then, you know, I would recommend watching it just for that alone. You know, if you've ever made a point to read all of his books or watch all of his films, then, you know, that would be reason enough for doing this. But yes, it is a low-budget TV movie. Some of the special effects are dated. At some points, some of the computer graphics are a bit laughable, but this was 96. I mean, you know, that's a very big gap in time right there. So this film was shot in New South Wales, Australia, but it gives the understanding that we are in New England, which to me is actually very funny as well, because the actors in the films don't even use New England accents. They speak with more of a Midwestern accent. So, you know, they just went the, I guess, the polished actor route, I guess, which is fine. It's just, to me, it would have been a lot more fun having the authenticity of the New England accent, especially just because it's so unique on its own. One of the things that I found interesting about the film is obviously the fishermen eventually do catch the giant squid, and they assume it's all over. Of course, in the plot twist, which is pretty predictable, we later find out that was a baby squid, and obviously Mama Squid's not too happy, so she comes back to deal with the townspeople. And you know, to my understanding, that's kind of funny and not very believable, because as far as I've always known, squids are not maternal creatures and they happen to be cannibalistic. So to say that this was more of a revenge type thing, to me, is not very practical, especially when the parent squid rescues the baby squid. Very logically, she would have just eaten it rather than, you know, gotten all huffy about the whole situation. But that's just me. Sometimes I just go in weird directions thought-wise. But to my understanding, the TV adaptation is very loosely based on the Peter Benchley novel. Some of the sequences are out of events, or some things obviously have been removed or condensed. Some characters were removed, some characters were added, so you know, it's just kind of a mishmash of stuff going on there. Also, to my understanding, in the novel, the infant or the baby squid doesn't appear until the end of the film, and I believe it was the adult squid, which in the book had been murdered by by a sperm whale, which I don't know if you would still call it murder if it's an animal killing another animal. But yeah, so obviously in typical giant creature fashion in the movie, they just blow him to smithereens, because if it's a giant creature, then obviously that's the best way to deal with it, is just blow it up. But yeah, it's still a fairly fun film in itself. You know, it's not a perfect movie, but as I said, anybody who's a fan of Peter Benchley or just likes animal attack films in general, I would say go ahead and just check it out. You know, it's not a perfect film, but it's still it's still within that animal attack genre. And you know, even though it was still dated and cheesy, you know, I still found parts of it to still be rather enjoyable. But that is pretty much it for today, guys, and I will talk to you later.